"Mommy, there's someone in my room." The voice is small, fragile, just a whisper in the dark. Elaine stirs, eyes heavy with sleep. Maybe she imagined it. Maybe it was part of a dream. But then, softer now, almost pleading. "Mommy, please." Her breath catches, her body tenses. She sits up, blinking against the dim glow from the hallway. Then she sees it, Danny's door, open. Her pulse quickens. That door was locked. She remembers turning the key, checking it. She does it every night, so why is it open now? The air feels different, heavier. She swings her legs over the bed, bare feet touching the cold floor. Something feels wrong. She steps into the hallway, the dim light stretching her shadow across the floor. Each step is careful, slow. Then, movement. A shadow, quick, darting behind her, just at the edge of her vision. She freezes. Her breath stutters, her mind races. So who? She forces herself to breathe, to keep walking. She reaches out, her fingers graze the wood. It's cold, too cold. Her heart pounds as she pushes it open. Danny is there, asleep, peaceful. The blankets rise and fall with his steady breaths. But something is wrong. The air shifts. The silence presses against her ears. Then, a giggle, soft, playful, but it doesn't belong to Danny. It's coming from the dark corner of the room. She doesn't move. She doesn't breathe. Another giggle, closer this time, like a child hiding, like a child waiting to be found. But there is no child, only shadows, and something watching her. The house is old, too old. Elaine steps inside, her hands gripping the cardboard boxes a little too tightly. The air is thick with dust, the kind that settles deep into the bones of a place, like it's been waiting for someone to return. Her children, Danny and Abigail, push past her, their voices echoing off the high ceilings. It's big, bigger than any house they've lived in before. Too many rooms, too many doors, some of them are locked. She runs her fingers over the old wooden frames, chipped paint peeling beneath her touch. She doesn't have keys for all of them. The real estate agent was vague when she asked about it, just smiled, just said, "Oh, the last owner left in a hurry, didn't take much with him." That should have been a red flag. Baxter, their dog, sniffs the air and whines. His tail stays low, ears pinned back. He doesn't like it here. Danny crouches next to him, running a hand through his fur. He's always been close to that dog, always trusted him. Abigail, of course, is already exploring. She's the curious one, the one who finds the things no one else wants to find. She stops in the hallway, eyes locked on a door at the very end. It's different from the others, heavier, older, bolted shut. Elaine doesn't like the look of it. She doesn't like the feeling that creeps up her spine the longer she stares. Then a voice breaks the silence. An old man, the neighbor, standing by the fence watching them. His face is pale, his lips press into a thin line. "Don't open it." Elaine blinks. "What?" The man nods toward the door. "The attic," he says. His voice is flat, empty. "Don't open it, no matter what you hear." Elaine forces a laugh, shakes her head. "It's just an attic." But the old man doesn't laugh, doesn't smile. He just stares a little longer. Then he turns and walks away. Elaine watches him go, something cold curling in her stomach. She shakes it off. It's just an attic, just a locked door. She won't be laughing later. The storm rolls in fast, the kind that shakes the windows, rattles the old bones of the house. Elaine lies awake, listening. The wind howls, twisting through the trees outside, making them groan like something alive. The house answers back, a low creak, a whisper through the walls. Then Baxter, a low, uneasy whine, the kind that raises the hairs on the back of her neck. She sits up, blinking through the dark. Baxter is by the door, stiff, ears pinned back. His body is tense, like he's ready to run, but doesn't know where. She follows his gaze. The attic door. No, No, she locked it. She knows she locked it. Baxter lets out a small, sharp bark, stepping back, tail tucked tight against his body. Something about the fear in him makes her move. She checks the kids. Danny is curled under his blanket, breathing slow, steady. Abigail is the same, safe, sleeping. Everything is fine. Then, a thump. Not thunder, not the wind. Something inside the house. The walls tremble. A picture frame crashes to the floor. Elaine is already moving, already in the hallway, and she stops. The attic door is open, not just unlocked, wide, gaping. A black mouth swallowing the dim light from the hallway. A gust of cold air rushes out, sinking into her skin. And then she sees her, Abigail, standing in front of the attic, bare feet on the cold wood, nightgown swaying in the unseen draft, staring. Elaine's voice catches in her throat. She rushes forward, gripping Abigail's shoulders, shaking her just enough to snap her out of whatever this is. "What are you doing?" Her voice is sharp, harsher than she means it to be. Abigail blinks, slowly, like waking up from something deep. Then, in a voice that is not quite hers, "It was calling me." Elaine's breath stutters. From inside the attic, something shifts. Not the wind, not the house settling. Something moves. She doesn't wait. She grabs Abigail, pulling her back, dragging her away from that open door and whatever waits beyond it. She slams it shut, locks it, nails it shut, pushes a dresser in front of it. It doesn't stay closed. Something is wrong with Abigail. Elaine notices it the next morning. She doesn't talk much, just sits at the kitchen table, pushing her cereal around with her spoon. Her eyes don't quite focus. She looks somewhere else. Elaine asks if she slept okay. Abigail doesn't answer, just nods. Once, slow. Danny watches her from across the table. His fingers curl around Baxter's fur, gripping tight. Even he knows something is different. The day passes in a haze. Abigail doesn't play, doesn't fight with Danny like she usually does. She just sits, stares at the walls, at nothing, or maybe something only she can see. Later, Elaine finds her in the living room, curled up on the floor, her notebook open. Pages filled with drawings, circles, symbols, strange jagged lines that don't make sense. Elaine asks what they are. Abigail smiles. "It's a language," she says. Her voice is soft, distant. Elaine's stomach tightens. A language for what? Abigail looks up at her. To talk to them. Elaine doesn't ask who. She doesn't want to know. That night the house is quiet. Too quiet. Then a scream. Danny. Elaine is out of bed before she can think, running down the hall, heart pounding. She pushes open his door. Danny is sitting up in bed, eyes wide, chest heaving. Abigail is standing over him, still, silent, watching. Elaine grabs her, pulls her back. "Abigail, what are you doing?" Abigail blinks, like she doesn't understand the question. Danny is crying, gripping his blanket so tight his knuckles are white. "She was whispering," he sobs. "She was whispering, but I didn't understand the words." Elaine turns to Abigail, shaking. "What were you saying?" Abigail tilts her head. "I wasn't talking to him." Elaine doesn't sleep after that. She keeps the lights on, keeps Abigail's door locked, but it doesn't matter, because the next night, Elaine finds her in the kitchen, standing in the dark, facing the corner, laughing, and she isn't alone. Elaine doesn't know what else to do. She's tried ignoring it. She's tried rationalizing it, but the house is different now. The air is heavier, the nights are longer, and Abigail isn't her daughter anymore, so Elaine makes the call. Dr. Marcus Graves, paranormal investigator, skeptic. She doesn't believe in this kind of thing. But right now, she just needs someone who knows. When he arrives, he's calm, too calm. He's done this before. He sets down his case, starts unpacking equipment, cameras, audio recorders, temperature sensors. Elaine barely notices his assistant, Emily, because the moment Emily steps inside, she freezes. Her eyes go wide, her skin pales. She grips the doorframe like she might collapse, then, barely above a whisper, "There's something else here." Elaine's stomach twists. "What do you mean?" Emily swallows hard. She doesn't step any further. "It's not just a spirit," she says. "It's not supposed to be here." Then she turns to Dr. Graves, voice shaking. "I'm not going in." Elaine wants to ask more, wants to push, but Graves just nods, like this isn't the first time. "Stay outside," he tells her. Elaine wishes she could do the same. That night they set up the cameras, every room, every hallway, one in Abigail's room. Elaine watches from the monitor. Abigail sits on her bed, staring at nothing. Then something moves behind her, not her shadow, something else, tall, too tall, gaunt, faceless. Elaine's breath stops in her throat. Graves rewinds the footage, plays it again. There, right there, something is standing behind Abigail. Then the audio crackles. The white noise shifts, twists, bends. A voice, deep, hollow, a whisper crawling through the speakers. "She let me in." Elaine jerks back, heart pounding. Abigail doesn't react, because she already knows. Father Callahan steps inside, and the house reacts. The air thickens. Heavy. Wrong. Elaine watches him closely. He is an older man, steady hands, calm eyes. He has done this before. He is not afraid. But that changes the moment he sees Abigail. She is sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. She isn't looking at him. She isn't looking at anyone. Her head tilts, just slightly, like she's listening to something only she can hear. Then her lips curl into a slow, unnatural smile. Callahan grips his Bible tighter. He steps forward, and Abigail screams. Not a cry, not a tantrum, a raw, inhuman shriek. The walls shake, the windows rattle, the lights flicker, once, twice, then die. Darkness swallows the house. Elaine stumbles back, heart slamming against her ribs. Then another sound, a click, not from Abigail, from the hallway. Elaine's breath catches the attic door, slowly, painfully. It creaks open. Callahan turns, gripping his rosary, his voice low and urgent. "Stay back." Elaine barely hears him. Her eyes are locked on the attic. It is black inside, a deep, endless dark. And in that dark, something moves. Figures, shifting, watching, waiting. The priest steps forward, lifting his Bible. "In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." The door slams open. A rush of cold air explodes into the hallway. Shadows spill out like smoke, curling, twisting. Callahan drops his Bible. His face is pale, his breath shaky. He looks at Elaine, at Abigail, at the thing in the attic, and in a voice barely above a whisper he says, This isn't just a spirit." Danny screams. Elaine turns just in time to see his small body ripped off the ground, dragged backward toward the attic. She lunges, grabbing his arm. Too late. The shadows swallow him whole. The attic door slams shut. For a moment, everything is silent. Then, Danny's screams cut through the walls. Elaine pounds on the door. "Danny, hold on, baby, I'm coming." Dr. Graves is already moving, slamming his shoulder against the wood. Emily sobs, shaking her head, whispering, "It's too late, it's too late." Callahan grips his rosary, muttering prayers through clenched teeth. Then, the house laughs. Not from the attic. From everywhere, the walls, the floors, the ceiling, low, wet, hungry. Then the door bursts open, and inside the attic is hell. A writhing mass of bodies, limbs tangled together, mouths open in endless screaming whispers. Faces pushed through the dark, some crying, some laughing, some staring right at her. Danny is in the center, his small body curled in on itself, trembling. Elaine moves without thinking. The shadows lunge. Something rushes forward. Then, Baxter. The dog leaps, snapping his jaws at nothing. Or something. Teeth sink into the air, and something screams, not Danny, not human. The shadows reel back. Elaine grabs her son, clutching him tight, pulling him free. And then she sees it. The walls, covered in words, a language she doesn't understand, but she doesn't need to. Her mouth moves before she can think, repeating the shapes. Her voice echoes. The attic shrieks. The house shudders. Then silence. A deep pulling force rushes through the air. The figures writhe and vanish. The attic door slams shut, and this time, it stays shut. Danny screams. Elaine turns. Too late. His body jerks backward, invisible hands dragging him toward the attic. She lunges, fingers barely brushing his pajama sleeve. The door slams shut. Elaine pounds her fists against it. "Danny, hold on! Mommy's coming!" Dr. Graves rams his shoulder into the wood. Nothing. Emily presses her hands against the wall, shaking her head. "It won't open," she whispers. "It won't let us in." Baxter goes wild. The dog snarls, barks, lunges at the empty air, but his teeth snap down on nothing, or something no one else can see. The house exhales, a deep, slow breath, like something is waking up. Then the whispers start, from the walls, from the floor, from the ceiling, soft at first, growing. The floorboards beneath Elaine's feet rot away. Something dark, wet, alive pulses underneath. Elaine stumbles back. Her eyes land on the dresser. A book, old, leather-bound, a journal. She grabs it, flipping through the pages, hands shaking. The writing is frantic, scratched, fearful. She turns to the last entry. "I locked it, but locking the door doesn't mean it won't open again." Her blood turns cold. Then Callahan. His voice cuts through the chaos. The priest stands tall, rosary clenched tight, reciting words she doesn't understand. The house screams, not a sound, not a voice, a feeling. The walls bend inward, the air warps. Elaine sees shadows lashing out, clawing at the light. She doesn't hesitate. She throws herself at the attic door, fingers digging into the wood, ripping it open. Danny is inside, curled in on himself, eyes shut. Elaine grabs him, pulling him free. The moment they hit the hallway, the door slams shut. A shockwave rips through the house. Then silence. Elaine holds Danny close, his little body shaking. She doesn't look back, because this time, she knows the door is shut for good. The house is gone. Elaine made sure of that. She packed what little she could, took Danny, took Abigail, left, didn't tell anyone, didn't look back. They found a new home, smaller, brighter, no locked doors, no shadows in the corners, just quiet. For the first time in weeks, Elaine sleeps, really sleeps. No whispers, no scratching behind the walls, just the sound of the wind through the trees. Safe. She wakes slowly, stretching against the soft morning light. Then she feels it, something small, cold, right beside her on the pillow. Her breath catches. She turns her head. A key. Old. Rusted. An attic key. Her stomach twists. Her heart slams against her ribs. No, 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 no. A sound echoes from the hallway. Soft, rhythmic, knocking. Elaine grips the sheets. Her body refuses to move. Then a child's voice. Not Danny, not Abigail, something else. "Mummy, someone is knocking from the attic."